Welcome to the panel, A Better World for Our Girls. My name is Shannyn. I graduated from MIT Sloan Executive MBA program in 2021. I'm an innovator in residence with the MIT Innovation Initiative, working with Professor Fiona Murray. I'm also on the leadership team for the MIT Solve Indigenous Communities Fellowship. I'm the founder of the Capital Boutique, and I was recognized in 2021 by the Boston Business Journal as one of the Power 50, the movement makers. I'm honored to moderate this panel of exceptional women. We'll begin with introductions. And as I say your name, maybe give the audience a little wave. Mahua is the co-founder of The Star in Me, a career acceleration platform for women talent and a diversity partner for corporations worldwide. In the last 2 years, The Star in Me has developed over 350 leadership skill programs and over 150 curated leadership videos. Mahua was previously a consulting director for Cognizant, where she gained experience in IT service delivery and operations consulting across 18 years and 3 continents. Katie is the founder of Claira, a human competency matching platform that connects people to work instantly based only on what they can do. She recently closed her seed round of $3.5 million. Congratulations, Katie. In 2021, she was one of only 12 women-led startups selected for Google's Startups Accelerator for Women Founders. She was also named to the Forbes Next 1000 list of entrepreneurs reinventing the American dream. Before Claira, Katie spent 10 years in global workforce development, the U.S. Attorney's Office, and the White House under former President George W. Bush. Katie is also a graduate from MIT Sloan, earning her MBA in 2020. Shirin is a gamer and is actively involved in the organization Women in Gaming. She is the founder and CEO of PlayWerks and the founder of WhizGirls Academy. Shirin hosted the first hackathon for women and girls with the White House Council of Women and Girls. She joined former President Barack Obama at the Reach Higher Summit to announce the commitment to serve 25,000 inner city children and adults nationwide. Shirin was an esteemed panelist at the Milken Institute Global Conference, where she spoke about making sure girls have access and pathways to in-demand tech careers. She was recognized as the Iranian Jewish Women's Organization's Woman of the Year in 2016 and the City of Los Angeles's Pioneer Woman of the Year in 2015. Tiana, who will also be joining us, is the CEO and founder of TSI LLC, a certified woman business enterprise. Her company prepares leaders to achieve next-level results in talent and leadership development and manages a portfolio of clients with a combined net worth of over $100 million. For over a decade, Tiana has served as a corporate trainer and business consultant to top leaders in both the public and private sectors across the US. Her company was recognized by HR.com in 2018 as the best executive coaching program and has improved business performance for leading brands like Mercedes-Benz, Activision, and BuzzFeed. She was awarded the Women of a Distinction Award in 2018 for her commitment to women, community issues, and public service. She's a featured guest on KTLA's morning news show discussing best practices on empathy in the workplace for managers. Tiana is a #1 best-selling author and produces and hosts the Like a Real Boss podcast, inspiring thousands of people in more than 26 countries. Thank you so much for joining our panel today, everyone. Now that we've learned a little bit about you, let's learn more about your companies. How are you creating a better world for our girls? Mahua, let's start with you. The Star in Me brings together women talent, global leadership coaches, and corporate clients. What's your vision for your career acceleration platform?
Thank you, Shannyn, for moderating with the amazing ladies around. Really excited, and thank you for your question. So through Star in Me, when we started off, there is so much happening, and the entire space of DEI is massive. So we had to hyper-focus our attention on one area, and we chose to work on the mid-career professionals. When we started looking into the data, what we found was, though almost 45 to 48% girls joined the workforce after college, but slowly it kind of disseminates to maybe a single-digit number when we go into CEO roles. So what was happening in the entire career journey? Then we figured out that between 5 to 15 years of experience, the most of the leakage was happening. And hence our focus was around mid-career professionals in the corporate space. So our intent and vision is to amplify the potential of diversity through a systemic approach, because we have to put together an engine and a process to build the pipeline of women leaders and decision makers in the corporate world. So that's where we're playing today.
Thank you. And what's the reach? How many women coaches and clients are on your platform?
Yes, we launched our platform in 2020 January. As we speak, we have close to 9,500 women from around 65 countries on the platform. We have brought together close to 100 leadership coaches from 15 countries on the platform, and we work with 25 multinationals. So we work with Salesforce, Intel, and many others when we kind of partnered together to share what do we need to do to retain women talent and kind of help them grow.
Excellent. And how do you work with your corporate clients?
Fantastic question. So when we work with our corporate clients, we become the diversity partners. And when we say diversity partners, what do we do? So we play a role in 4 areas. We work with them, we partner with them to help engage their women talent better. And how do we do that? The Star and Me works as a SaaS platform, and it's kind of creates a bubble within the organization. So if I'm explain to you, if Infosys is our client, so women in Infosys will be using starandme.infosys.com. They have their own space to network, interact, get mentored, and learn, have continuous learning as a method. The second that we do with them is we develop their women talent. I talked about the scalability that we have given. We have leadership coaches from 15 countries. So they and us, we bring in learning solutions for early career, mid-career, and senior leadership. So we kind of deliver those learning solutions. Third, we help retain through our diversity consulting. So we have built our D&I maturity assessment. We work together with the HR and the learning and development and businesses teams to help retain and that leakage. And the fourth is we help recruit better women talent, but just focusing on the middle career, not at the entry and senior leadership. So this is the way we try to kind of, do a holistic understanding with them.
And it sounds like the Star in Me is that engine that's driving women through the pipeline into leadership roles through that reinforcing loop that you described. Thank you for what you do. Katie, so Claira is a human competency platform. What are competencies and how do they actually level the playing field when it comes to women and girls and all types of diversity really in the workforce?
Mm-hmm. Great question. Thanks, Shannyn. And happy to be here. Hope the hackers are doing well on what is a monumental challenge. So we define competencies as the things that someone can do on the job. So it doesn't matter why you know how to do them. It doesn't matter where you came from. It doesn't matter where you learned them or what your last name is or what your skin color is. All that matters is this competency, which is a full sentence that includes knowledge, skill, context, and level. So our software has a library of competency statements in the back end of the engine. They may be things like manages a diverse team of engineers at a bank, listens with empathy to a teammate who disagrees with you, speaks Spanish and these other 2 languages. So you can tell by the statements that they have so much detail that they're very accurate and precise at predicting what someone can do at work. And they also remove a lot of the sort of initial indicators that we use to put people to work, like resumes, like degrees, sometimes just word of mouth, those approximations that we use today. So because competencies sort of flip the order and they start with the data on what someone can do as opposed to who they are, it levels the playing field for all different types of diverse segments in the workforce. And we found in our work that actually companies who use competencies to source get about 22% more diversity to the interview. And they also end up promoting those folks through the organization because they're just focused on that skill data as opposed to everything else.
Oh, very interesting. And in addition to leveling the playing field in the workforce, you also coach. So how does your playing volleyball in Europe and coaching and travel team and coaching Olympians help you with what you do every day at Claira?
Yeah, this is a great question. And I actually, until recently, till speaking to an advisor of mine, realized that I've sort of been underselling the role that being a coach and an athlete has played in my journey of being an entrepreneur. I work with an awesome organization that's helping young women in technology fields connect to jobs. And this woman mentioned that 70%, I think 70 to 80% of female founders actually have a sports background, which I found not that surprising, actually. And so I think one of the things, in addition to it sort of preparing me to be an entrepreneur, because, you know, I'm used to failing every day. I'm used to having to do whatever it takes to win a match, get to the end of a practice, make sure a teammate succeeds. I think all of that training not only prepared me to be an entrepreneur and deal with the sort of ups and downs that come every day, but it also tuned me into what we're finding is really important in competency analytics, which are those softer employability traits that companies really care about and that actually women are very skilled at. So we hear more and more from large enterprises, you know, we need those things that are timeless, right? That AI is not going to be able to do for a long time. Communication, empathy, teamwork, patience, being able to facilitate a tough meeting. Women tend to excel at those things. And I feel like I learned a lot of those things in my coaching and playing days. And now that's sort of coming back around full circle as we hear employers can't live without them.
I'm one of those collegiate athletes, so I understand completely. Shirin, over to you. So how do your companies, so PlayWerks and WhizGirls Academy, inspire interest in STEM among girls?
Well, thank you, Shannyn, for having me here. This is awesome. I'm actually here at the City of STEM big conference at the Columbia Science Center, and right next door, I hope you don't hear, is the Overwatch esports thing going on. So there's a lot happening. So with regard to your question, PlayWerks is my interactive media company, and I started it because I had a dream job. I wanted to be like Tom Hanks in the movie Big. So I used to work at Mattel in research on Barbie. And then I went on to work for Bratz. I started the research department and was the brand manager. And in focus groups, I found that a lot of parents would come in and say there's not positive role models for girls in the space. And I was like, what? I grew up with like Carmen Sandiego. I grew up with Nintendo and Atari. I'm aging myself. But I actually learned how to code in elementary school in the 3rd grade with a female computer science teacher that taught me how to code Fortran. Now, if I didn't watch the movie Big, I probably would have stuck to that because I was obsessed with gaming. And as you mentioned earlier, I am a gamer. So PlayWerks, we created our first brand, which is WhizGirls, and it's a lifestyle tech brand where we're doing something very similar to Carmen Sandiego, except it's all STEM focused. And we're currently in beta on the games right now. And then out of that, I got connected to the Obama administration White House, and they asked me to host hackathons. And we hosted our first hackathon with the White House, which was focused on civic leadership and how to get women and girls more interested in that at the time. And then we extended it to making WhizGirls Academy, which is where we do social impact hackathons that are a little bit extended. So we do fitness and eating and meditation, and we do coding, and we use Esri's ArcGIS. And at the end of the day, the kids pitch like Shark Tank style to real investors. So we're focused on, with WhizGirls Academy, building pipelines for careers in STEM and tech focused, a little bit more engineering and coding focused, but we also connect them to mentors and really promote the healthy, balanced lifestyle tech, which is the brand really. So through the brand, we're doing a lot, and we've done a ton of hackathons. I used to do coding camps and summer camps, but our focus is right now hackathons to really make STEM cool and tech and gaming cool for girls.
Wow, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing a little bit more about your companies. And I have a few other questions that are more open questions, so not specific to any one person or company. So I'd invite all of you to share. So the first question is, what human capital challenge is top of mind for you? So the hackathon theme this year is unlocking human potential. So what human capital challenge is top of mind for you?
If I may start off, Shannyn. So as I said, there is, the entire job market is radically changing in the last 1 decade. And that wasn't the case in the last 50 years, the change that we are seeing now. So either we make a choice to be part of the creator economy or be the consumer economy, right? So I think there are two lenses that I'm thinking about, and that's the way we try to focus on. One is, how do we play a role in this entire transition process? If you might have read a lot of analyst reports, it says mostly by 2030, 160 million women will tend to lose job because of the entire digital transformation and automation that's happening. Because a lot of women are particularly in the operator roles, and especially the different roles where they might lose their jobs in this entire transition process. So one of our focus is, how do we reskill people and in the digital skill set. So for example, if Salesforce technology or the tech stack is something, so the organizations are today paying for recruiting and upskilling and then hiring. So I think that entire model of upskilling and hiring will ensure that we are rebuilding the talent in a different skill pool where it'll remain for the next few years. That's number one. And number two, I couldn't agree more with Katie. What we have seen is, people focus a lot on functional and technical skills, but this entire power skills, meta skills, and transportable skills are really ignored and not taught in institutions. So today, when we talk about resilience, we talk about leadership and ambiguity, talk about empathy. We have learned in the last 2.5 years how it has impacted the entire world. So I think a lot of focus is on how do we keep building that meta skills, and that's so core to every human, and in unleashing each one's human capital and their thought process. So we try to play a role with all the leadership coaches to building content and creating that self-awareness around it, and so that we're able to sail through a little bit better through this entire transition process.
That's interesting, because it sounds like what you're describing is, as the workforce becomes more automated, what makes us humans is what we need to focus on.
Absolutely.
So some of those, yeah, thank you. Shirin or Katie, would you like to add?
Sure, yeah, I was gonna say, well, with the intro of the Web3 and now the creator culture, there's a lot of the future of internet that we don't know. And I feel like there's a lack of skill sets and knowledge and communication that's happening, especially for the younger children. I mean, we focus on 8 years old is the youngest that we go, but I used to teach at USC, so we've had college students come through our programs. And I feel like a lot of them don't know what's available to them. Like when I grew up, there was no social media, there was none of this stuff. And now the Web3 and the NFT and all that stuff, there was none of it. And so now we're creating these, like really giving them the tools and the skills to be able to have careers and jobs that were non-existent, really. But it goes back to what she said before me, like it's really about having the knowledge and the human part of it, which we're not lost. I mean, we're all virtual now and everybody can work remotely as well. But I think it's super important to have, be kind of on the forefront of what's coming, because those are all the skills and tools that are needed. And that's what we provide in our programs as well.
How do you stay ahead, Shirin? If you're like, how do you stay future focused for those younger ladies who are in your programs? How do you prepare them for a future that remains a bit unknown?
Well, that's a good question. So I come from a research background. And I was actually talking about STEM for girls in 2005. So I was like way ahead of the curve. And super involved with like the future. And people usually meet me and they say, oh, you're from the future, aren't you? I'm like, well, I kind of feel like I am in some ways, because having research and knowing like how that works, it helps. And some things I found, like, coming from toys or entertainment industry, it's a 10-year cycle. But then like I grew up, for example, with Transformers, but then when I was older, way older, the Transformers movie came, right? So I didn't have that when I was growing up. So I think some things happen in different ways in terms of branding, but then for the girls, I always say like, there's so many more opportunities that you've never ever heard of. Like there's, like I mentioned, there's the esports thing happening. So esports is huge. there's a lot of girls that are interested in gaming, but they're not having opportunities and they don't even know how to get into it. So now I'm saying with like NFTs and Web3 and all this stuff, which can be a little bit of buzzwordy, but I feel like there needs to be the skills and the communication and the knowledge and teaching of what these things are so that they can get on the path to, careers in that space.
Yeah. I see Katie nodding in agreement.
Yeah, I'm totally nodding in agreement. And I love both of those first two answers because I'd love to just sort of hook them together for my response to the question, which is maybe obviously because of the mission of my company, the sort of lack of transparency or window into the workforce is the thing that makes me most nervous about human capital right now. That's of course what we're trying to attack in part. So, half of the world's population doesn't have a degree. Almost half of the US population doesn't have a degree, which means those people have probably never written a resume and they're not on LinkedIn and they're not on a lot of other job sites. Of course, big segments of that part of the workforce are women and girls. Still, the best predictor of your lifelong income is zip code. So schools that you had access to, how many family members you need to take care of, whether or not there was big industry where you grew up, what your family's socioeconomic circumstances were. And in the age of data and artificial intelligence on the rise, I find the use of paper resumes and job descriptions archaic. There should be a data set of all people and what they can contribute to work. And I can't believe that we don't already have that. If we had a living data set, a competency map of the workforce, which is what we think we're headed toward, we could do a couple of the things that Mahua and Shirin just mentioned, which is quickly upskill because we've identified when a skill is maybe headed out, 20 new jobs get created in a week, and we can crosswalk skills and competencies to those new jobs really quickly. We could adapt education curriculums almost in real time if we had a data set of what everybody could contribute to work. So I try to hire using competencies for my team at Claira, and I tried to do that when I secured my board members as well. But it's hard because there's not really a good system for that yet. And so I want to use our model, but it's early. And so that I feel like we're missing people, we're missing great talent, we're missing great diversity because the system has too many gates in it. And so that invisibility is the thing that keeps me up at night.
And just as you said, the connecting it, because as Shirin is inspiring girls, so younger women, and to want to know more about STEM and think about tech careers, and then your competency engine with the matching based on competency, and then Mahua helping women to continue to advance with once they are in a job that they love to continue to build those skills. And it's not only about building the skills, it's the organizations recognizing how diversity of thought really matters and can help a business even have an edge within their sector. So thank you so much for sharing. The next question is, so what do you think about the future of work for girls and women? Mahua shared some of the data and the challenges that women face once they are in a job and have real challenges in trying to get into the C-suite, and the percentage of women is certainly below that of men in getting into the C-suite and even boards. So what do you think the future of work looks like for girls and women?
Okay.
Anyone?
So if we just look at data, right? Let's leave everything. Let's see where we are today. In the current job, we would see women being a lot in particular industries. So if you think about medical and healthcare, food services or education, that's where most of the women are. So I think through the skilling and the entire connectivity and Web3, Shirin discussed and Katie talked about the competency map, I think to distribute the workforce across industries to make it work. The second thing that we need to do is rearrange the places where women are concentrated towards. But if you see in organizations, women in different roles, you would see a lot of them in numbers in human resources, in marketing functions, and possibly in a much more junior professionals, because as I said, we start with 48, 49%, but then when you get to the managerial level, it just drops to 35, and to senior manager, it's 25, and then it gets into single digit. So how are we able to redistribute talent in different skill pockets? It's very, very important. And that's where I think what Shirin is doing at developing, because till now the challenge exists. Not a lot of girls in middle school, they do not take STEM. So I don't know what's the notion. Today still they have role models, which we did not have in our time, definitely. So I think a lot more role models need to come in where they believe that they can make a great future in tech. So I think a lot girls should get inspired from middle school, because that's where the rewiring starts happening, and that's the main place to hook them. And if you're able to keep continuing to build that capability around those skill sets, it's very, very important. So our redistribution, to summarize, redistribution of skill sets and ensuring redistribution of industries. Because see, for example, manufacturing and many other industries don't even have women.
Yeah.
So how do we
and I would imagine, Katie, in the redistribution of talent, something like the competency matching would allow for that. And Shirin, with more women in STEM, maybe it's the CTO roles where we'll see more women versus communications or marketing, as Mahua shared. But would love your thoughts.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I worked with all 3 CTOs of the White House, and ironically, both the first 2 were men, and the last one was Megan Smith, a female, which was awesome. But I feel like there's not enough. And now when I go to schools, some of them don't have computer labs. I truly believe in inclusive inclusion, and I think it's really important to have everyone have that. But again, like I grew up with a female computer science teacher in the 3rd grade in a public school in LAUSD in Westwood, but that's apparently rare from the 80s. I don't know. But I feel like that's kind of missing now. And like you said, Shannyn, it's important to have more CTO roles as women and more engineers as women. Like there's not that many. I mean, even at this event that I'm at right now, I feel like there's so many more boys that have come to our booth than girls, but everybody keeps talking about we need more girls in STEM.
Yeah. And your shirt stands out, I'm sure. Love it.
I mean, I come from 2 fashion doll brands. So why do we have to be like nerdy and STEM? Why can't we be cool?
I agree. I
mean, again, like I grew up with this, so it's like I don't know. I don't know what happened. Somehow in the 80s, 90s, something shifted, because maybe it was because Barbie said math is hard. I don't know. Like something happened.
That you have to. There's something there, as Katie's pointing. Would you like to add, Katie?
I love that. Yeah, I love that. I'm laughing. Yeah, I mean, so I might just add a couple of things sort of from the competency perspective again. I think I touched on it earlier. I'm an optimist, I guess. Lots of founders are optimists. And I feel like the tide is turning. I feel like we're in a moment right now. There's a moment happening for women and girls because of the work being done. We're starting to see the research is slowly starting to show progress, slow, but at a faster rate than we saw in the last 20 years, for sure. And so the future is female. I think there's something coming. We're on a momentum line right now when it comes to workforce. One of the things the pandemic did that was positive amidst all the negative is that it started a global conversation about the labor market, right? And about work. And so the 2 things I'd point out, I think, related to that are this being able to cross-train and cross-utilize skills, especially those skills that women are great at, that big companies, big tech especially, are now starting to pay attention to, that we mentioned earlier: empathy, grit, listening, teamwork, patience, those things that make women uniquely good at project management and facilitation, and those roles that are on the rise that are going to need to be supporting AI as we start sharing more and more work with machines. So I think that is coming for women and girls. I think that's going to be, we're going to start hearing a lot about that in the next couple of years. There's also, it's worth noting on the crosswalking that our very first pilot that we did for Claira was trying to place unemployed hospitality workers during the pandemic into logistics jobs, because everybody in hospitality was being laid off. as Mahua mentioned, the majority of hospitality is female, still overwhelmingly. And logistics has a lot of the same skill requirements, right? You can unload and offload inventory. You can stand on your feet for long periods, point of sale software, all that stuff is shared between those two industries. So we actually placed a bunch of laid off hospitality workers into logistics jobs because Amazon and FedEx was, everybody's holding the world together, delivering things at home. And the other thing that we were able to do was show that a lot of skills that women have who have been out of the workforce because they were home with families, maybe they were working virtually before the pandemic even, those skills are immediately applicable to other jobs if they want to switch roles, if they want to take a job outside the home. So we started doing crosswalking there as well. So I think that mix of sort of employability skills, soft skills, that strength there, plus the crosswalking, those are two trends I think that are coming that we can't really avoid.
What is the power of networking or creating connections that are beyond the network that you know? Because Katie, you mentioned that you were deliberate about how you're selecting your board and selecting your and hiring for your team. So did that require you to go outside of the network that you know? So maybe it's somebody who's not necessarily went to MIT Sloan. Like how important do you think that is as we think about the future of work for women and girls, that the importance of connecting beyond the people that we know? And I know Katie and I know one another before this panel, but shout out to Adela for connecting Mahua and Shirin and all of us for the panel to be able to maybe identify opportunities to partner or collaborate beyond this panel. But would love to know more about how you think that the power of connection across women and girls might help to propel us forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's incredibly important. I think everybody would probably say doors were opened, opportunities were given because of their network, because of relationships. I think it's hard to overstate how important that is. And it's hard to overstate that as a component of opportunity, right? One of the things that drives me nuts about raising venture capital is the warm intro, right? The warm intro is how you get into the door at VCs. And so without a warm intro, too bad, right? You fill out a form online and they might look at you, but probably not. And VCs, I get it, right? We're humans. We care about relationships. It's a risk business. And so I get why they do it. But the warm intro gives me heartburn. I live in Michigan. I'm from the Midwest. I had to go to MIT to even get on the map, right? I'm not even taking venture meetings without MIT, probably. So it's hard to overstate how important it is. I think especially for women and especially to create opportunity outside of maybe what would normally be there is especially big for women and girls, and having mentors and having connectivity. The angle of this that I'm attacking is sort of the data angle. What's the system that we use to connect people to work? But there is this human component that you can't undersell. And as much as I tried to go totally competency-based to get all my people and all my board members, and I have people on my team without a degree, and they're exceptional, right? And so I believe in our model, but I still got a lot of them through people that I knew, right? So we used our model, but relationships still played a role. And until till this is more mature, especially in talent acquisition, that's going to continue to be key.
And Mahua, how important is that to your business? So with your corporate clients, I would imagine, and you're all over the world, worldwide international company, how important is that connectivity, and how much does that matter, do you believe, for the future of work for women and girls?
Fantastic question. I think Katie alluded to a lot of it, but I think two things, networking and personal branding, both of them come hand in hand, are superly important in today's world. These entire connections are happening because there is on the personal branding that has been done. And I think the importance of brand, which we've always given to products and organizations in the last so many years. I think the same is important for us as individuals, and you need not be a 15 years experience or an 18 years experience to build a brand. You can start building a brand. In fact, as humans, as we are born, we start building brands knowingly or unknowingly in our own community. So I think the more, in fact, Shirin works with the girls young, it's very important to tell them about the need of brand and the need of connections. And today we wouldn't have been doing the business if networking wouldn't have been the core of it. As I said, I have coaches, 100 coaches from close to 15 countries. And a lot of them has just happened. I've possibly onboarded 10 of them. After that, it has been a connection and then the due diligence process, the way we have done. And whenever you're startup founders, we all know the first 10 customers that you get are through your connections. There's nobody else who's going to trust you. Either the credibility that you have built in the last few years where you were a corporate professional, the network that you have built there is very, very important. That every time when I've seen brands win is not through competition, it's through a lot of collaboration. And I've seen when I talk to Katie and Shirin, there's so much that if we talk beyond this, and Shannyn, you are in the core of it with your Capital Boutique. I think there's so much that can be done just with these four of us on the call today. So it is very, very important. It's core of women and girls, women in future, because we are few. Hence, we have to kind of collaborate and kind of amplify each other's potential through these connections.
Thank you, Mahua, for that. And Shirin, how do you? I can imagine that maybe you're talking about connections among young girls in STEM, but what does that inspiration look like for them, or feel like for them when they see someone like you in STEM or another woman in STEM, and how might that networking or connectivity translate for the up and coming generation of women?
Yeah, for the younger ones, I always tell them my story first. And I talk about how so when I got my job at Mattel, it was through an informational interview. I basically contacted my boss and kind of bugged him for 9 months until he finally gave me a job. It was pre-Google, that was pre-anything, right? So now I tell them, you have Google, you have Twitter, you have Instagram, you have so much access to people. Like if you wanted to tweet like the woman, her name is not coming to me right now, the president of SpaceX, Gwen, you can tweet her and she might respond. Like, you never know, right? So there's so much more access and abilities for them and communication, but they just don't have the tools. And I think most of them are pretty shy. So the younger ones are definitely very shy, but like when I used to teach at USC at the engineering school, I taught tech for social impact. And it was like a 15-week hackathon. So we would take them to like events with VCs, and like I took a bunch of the girls, actually ironically the students came from USC to this event with a VC, which happened to be Ashton Kutcher's company's VC. She was a female, and I told them, go up to her, give them your card and network. And they just all looked at me like I was mad. And I literally had to tell them exactly what to say to her. And I went first, they followed, because I kept saying, go talk to them. No. They're all shy. They're all like, and even the younger ones, like when we do our pitches for the hackathons, the 8-year-olds come and pitch. And like, for example, we had Adidas as a sponsor for one. And at the end, like one of the kids went up and told the girls from Adidas, make this shoe. This is like, they're like, make sure Adidas makes this. And like, I had to go in there all day and tell them, Adidas is our sponsor. You want to thank them. You want to go talk to them. These people are here to help you. They're here to mentor you. I really have to like plug it, and like they're like sponges. The younger ones are great because they're sponges. The older ones are super shy, and I really have to push them. But it's like I said, it's so much easier nowadays because we have so much access through technology to any of these people, and big people too. Like I don't know why people have something to lose if you go talk to someone. Just go say hello. Like there's nothing to lose. I'm sure most people, if you say you want to do an informational interview, most people love to talk about their job. So they would love to have coffee with you and tell you about their job.
That's wonderful. And if they didn't have you to push them, it may not even occur to them that they should go up and say hello and introduce themselves. And because that's the beginning of how you make connections and how you network. It's just saying hello and introducing yourself. So that's wonderful that you're starting then. So we've talked about the future of work for women and girls broadly, but are there particular challenges and opportunities for little girls of color? And I'll start because I'm thinking, Shirin, as you were sharing Transformers, that was me, so same. And there's an organization called the American Indian Science and Engineering Society, or ACES, and they have summer camp for Indigenous children. And so I would go, not every summer, but almost every summer. And we would do science camp and math camp. I don't think we had programming. And so that really inspired me, excited me to pursue math and science. And without that, other than my mother being a teacher, but so if she wasn't a teacher and I didn't have that, I don't know that a STEM career would even have been something that I thought was possible. And so some of Mahua, the data that you were sharing in the McKinsey report, the status of women in the workforce, that the women of color, even lower percentage, making it into the C-suite. And so those are some of the challenges, but then the opportunities are whether there are organizations like Shirin's that are going into certain cities or areas that other people are not, to make sure that all of the girls have chance and opportunity. I think that's where what's exciting is that the inclusion for around STEM, I think, is certainly broader than it has ever been, and being deliberate and purposeful about being inclusive around those different opportunities. So I think that on one hand, certainly remains a challenge, but on the other hand, there's excitement and momentum. But would love to know a little bit more about what challenges, opportunities you might have seen or experienced firsthand.
Sure. Well, I'll go because, it's called WhizGirls. And initially I said we're girl focused, but boy inclusive, just because we don't live in a bubble. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people come through some of the hackathons and they're just like, wait, it's called WhizGirls. I'm like, well, do you remember something called Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? And they're like, yeah, because they saw the newer version of it. Or I saw all these things. I'm like, aren't those girls' names? And they're like, yeah. And I said, well, we have a boy character, in our games, and so it's project-based learning. That's how we teach the coding. We teach HTML and CSS. Like all the characters have their own elements, and astrological elements. So they relate to them in different ways. And by the end of the day, the boys are like, oh, yeah, this is cool. Cause it's all secret agent spy mission adventure. So they forget about it. So I think it's been interesting to see, like I said, we're super girl focused because that's what's missing in the world. But I'm not going to say no to boys. And we've had a ton of, boys, same ages, 8 to up to college age. And it's been really interesting to see the shift of what happens. And also our logo is black and gold. So there's nothing pink or girly about it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Awesome.
I agree so much to Shirin. In fact, when we work with organizations, we said we are women focused. But please, when we do work with organizations, what we talk about from a transportable skills and meta skills has nothing to do with gender. It's nothing to do with color. It's applicable in the same way to everyone. We are focused, but when we work with you, we are open to work with every individual or every employee, because it's very important. As you said, we don't live in a bubble. So we can't create a separate bubble in our own world, because that's not reality. Because when they have to come into reality, they have to compete and connect and progress in an inclusive world. And that should not, again, be a shocker for them that, oh, wow, I'm doing great here. But when I come in this world, again, I see the same challenges.
So final question before we close out. What are you excited about looking to the future? So I'll invite each of you to share, but we'll take a volunteer to go first.
I'll go. Seeing these kids that come through our programs go from, I don't know what coding is, I don't know what STEM is, most of them don't know these things, to I want to be a gamer, I want to work for Riot Games, I want to start my own gaming company. The shift is very dramatic and it's game changing. And watching them pitch, like you guys are going to pitch later today from your hackathon, is phenomenal. And then keeping in touch with some of these kids and now hearing that they're actually working in the industry or have gotten jobs or have been connected with mentors, that's really like my joy and passion. So it's been really exciting to have, go from, I don't know anything about tech and STEM, and yes, I love gaming, but like, I don't know what's on the back end. Like everybody wants to be a gamer, right? When I say I'm a gamer, it was like from the 80s, but like nowadays gaming is everywhere. And it's like having these kids know what happens on the back end and actually getting into those fields has been like my biggest joy.
Fulfilling.
Yeah, I've been super grateful for it.
Yeah, I'll add a couple of things that I'm excited about when I think about sort of where we are in women and girls and where I think and hope the labor market and workforce and opportunity is sort of heading. So there are a couple of trends that I think are exciting and that we've specifically seen sort of work from a marketing perspective, I guess, with young girls when we've done workshops with them. So one of those things is, sort of the disaggregation, the democratization, right, of sort of access and, all the, Web 3.0 and some of the things that we discussed earlier. There's just a movement generally toward democratization and access and sort of crowd control and decentralization, if you will. And that's also going to start hitting in verticals. So, sometimes I talk to potential customers or investors about, do you work in healthcare? Can you help technology companies? Can you help banks? And those lines are getting really blurry, right, between verticals, because really all industries are technology now, right? So technology is pervasive, it's everywhere. One of the things that was always challenging with young girls, and the women on the meeting will know this better than me, but was this marketing problem in technology, right? So manufacturing also still has a marketing problem, but advanced manufacturing is robotics, right? It's AI, it's CNC. And so there was always sort of, women are supposed to do these jobs and boys are going to do these jobs, and that's going away. And I think the fact that all these industry lines are blurring now and that technology is just here to stay and you can be good at any of these things and plug in anywhere, I think that helps with especially younger girls when they're thinking about where could I fit in and what can I do? So that sort of blurring of verticals and I guess the democratization, disaggregation that's happening in the labor market, I think is going to work in our favor. And, the other thing is that I think people are realizing, because the whole world went online, that there's so much opportunity to create online opportunity and access for younger girls to learn about industries, to walk a day in someone's shoes and see what it's like. And so the trouble with, sort of what schools you have access to or what your friends are doing or what your parents can help you with, that still, of course, plays a role, but it's, the access is really exciting because I think it's going to help with so many different components, and there will be a lot of things available to learn like that maybe we didn't have access to. So those two trends are exciting.
Very true. Thank you, Katie.
One thing, in fact, I saw in my last 2.5 years, I think the conversations are changing. I don't think we're discussing a lot with our customers. When I say customers, your enterprise customers, on the why, right? I think everybody understands the why to a larger extent. They do also understand this is not about a number game or a quota game. It is about competence. It is about the real facts of business. Metrics that have been proven are better when you have a much more diverse talent and inclusive workforce and workplace. So I think the why is kind of understood and predominantly. So I think when our conversations happen, we don't waste time on why, it is predominantly on the solutions. Tell us what's to be done. So I think we are kind of progressing and acting on it rather than having debate and research and bringing in numbers to throw. So I think that's a big leap. And if you see the numbers, in fact, between 2019 to 2021, the latest reports of World Economic Forum, World Bank reports, it is showing a significant improvement. And with so much of momentum picking up across the world, from girls to women to senior leadership, I definitely am very optimistic about the future. And I think technology will play a huge role. And organizations like, I think, the competency mapping without taking gender, race, everything else, where you just focus on the talent. It's very, very important. And then that will blur a lot of it. And hopefully we'll not talk about forums like this. We don't have to talk about it, something like this in the next maybe 2 or 3 decades. That's hopeful.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you to our panelists and to the MIT Hack for Inclusion Planning Committee for inviting us to discuss a better world for our girls. My name is Shannyn. You can find me on LinkedIn /Shannyn, SHANNYN. And panelists, what's the best way to contact you to learn more about you and your organizations?
For me, the best way to is to reach out to me through LinkedIn. You can just do Mahua Mukherjer, MAHUA, whatever you see on my name. And the star in me, you're going to find me there. So that's the best way. Otherwise, you can go to the starinme.com platform and there's a contact us button. So those are the 2 places where you can find me. Thank you.
Yeah, this has been a pleasure. I love when I'm on panels and learn a ton. That's the most fun. Same thing, I can be reached by email. So if you go to claira.ai, so CLAIRA.ai, there's a contact button and that'll direct right to my email or anyone on my team. If you know any little girls who want to be engineers and want to talk to my all-female engineering department, they can reach out to them on the website. And Katie Hall Claira on LinkedIn, also totally fine.
Thank you so much for this opportunity to share. This was so much fun and meeting new people. I'm at Shirin at Play. It's PLAY-works, WERKS.com, or I'm more on Instagram these days, so at Shirin Salemnia.
Wonderful. And congratulations to those who'll be winning the Hackathon Awards next up. Thanks so much. Have a good rest of the weekend, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Shannyn.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.